my computer is a document which I have titled Post-Mela. The point of this document, which I have only recently become aware of, is to answer the question, how do I think the new? In what form does this art manifest? Like, I've had this idea for a long time about what way is a concept transmitted and what way does it become created. For example, in goat worship, what you have are a bunch of skits that were initiation practices of sorts, rituals, and the form that I know of them in is within recordings taken from a camera similar to the one that I'm recording this on now. So for the participants in those rituals, why is it necessary for them to film them? Does this experience cross over to me isomorphically? In that, well, when I go to do my project, Nielsen, why do I need to record it? What does it need to be? In philosophy, what you have is a complete system. It's not speculative. It's something you're writing down, like in the Tractus. You have numbers. It's closer to math. You just take it and you write it. No mathematician is interested in something like this with mathematics. This is essentially philosophy or ritual or art, what I'm doing right now, but it doesn't tell you anything. Like, you wouldn't read a math paper that was just someone musing on what do you do. But these questions like why and what do you do are pretty useless, ultimately. So eventually you have to come up with what the problem is, or how you think this stuff. You can't just create empty signifiers or empty signs, because they stack onto each other without content, which the idea of creating, or the idea of, if you have to add that predicate, which I think for art is a very obscene way of wording things, the way that E-prime language becomes, on one hand, pretentious, and on the other hand, it speeds things up, but it's also like this postmodern sort of, it becomes an ideology. Good artists are doing this already. People who have an idea about thinking the new are already doing this. So there's not really any reason for this speculation. So I have some notes. Beyond phenomenal designation, only dipping a toe into the idea of me for a gaffe, stupidity craving, everyone with their desires they dismiss outright to hold as secrets, no confusion at all, and nothing about to be fortified, the pedestal they sit upon, but were not raised to, regarding the two formers. What if I'm simply alone with an image? Only one of us can enjoy this conversation, the body doesn't mind as much as the conversation does. What to forget, what I could be unguarded, the object is named a priori. Plague series triptychal of nightmares taunting liberation by tugging its ears as it climbs up the stairs on knees and wrists like a boy or a pigeon. Oscillating between astonishment that Kant has it completely right, the pure understanding, rendering metaphysics permissible as the absolute self unconcerned with phenomenal, who is the apogee par excellence, the phenomena but Emmanuel, yet it swings the whip down vis-a-vis trivialities in terms of objects, hindered by amazement and or boredom. Need, if there remains such a telos, more like suffering and boredom and complacency, to go faster, much faster, the joy of thought and cruelty. It's not about the event. It's about like, it's such a cliche to say that artists always love to pick up the new technology and mess around with it. Like, well, who's doing that but photographers? Because if you just take it out of context, like a newspaper, in Edouard Lev's work, it's the same, like, just Dadaist reading of whatever artistic technique comes out. And so if there was like some new sensory capturing device, an apparatus of capture for aesthetics rather than the state, if I was to pick that up and just mess around with it without a plan, on one hand it would be good, and on the other hand it wouldn't be my project because I'd have no idea what was even happening. It's like these people who take mushrooms all the time and they have no idea what they're seeing, or maybe they see it for a second, but since it just happens to them, it could be anything that happens to you. It could be watching a ball bouncing between two metal plates. And going back to goat worship, because there's only my perception, and I haven't actually done any deliberate ritual practices, I have to say it has been effective with what they did, but if I was to mimic it, that wouldn't be it either. There's no way you can say something twice either, so everything hasn't been said before. And the brain is such a compiler. And what do you say? I think recently I used to only consider myself as a collager of things, where I'd see something and I could put it next to something that I saw and I could draw associations between the two, but there was no way I could place anything of my own into that process other than being a compiler and mimicking the brain as a cognitus, like stirring the Ola Padrita experiences together, which is what perception is. Because you have sensation, and then you have your dream world, conceptual reality, which becomes perception. And they are linked together. And that means the problem is what's the difference between the virtual and the possible, which is instantiated in act, which is posterior to perception. And even in these videos, it's irresponsible of me to be a speculator rather than coming out with a lecture plan, isn't it? But as a compiler, what do I think of? Or what do I say? That's always been interesting to me, is what you choose to focus on and what you choose to say in any flow, like I was talking about a month ago with free word associations. And it becomes even more strange because there are different theaters to enunciation. Not exactly an enunciative assemblage, but rather the only way I could ever approach having an answer to the Hegelian issue of the virtual and the possible is in writing. Like, philosophy mirrors thought by instantiating the thoughts into words, which are hardened, they're solidified in writing. But it's like what does the video do? The video instantiates it in a similar way, but it's less controllable. If I was more skilled in terms of editing, I could piece these things together It's like writing is still the most direct of putting a thought down. It's like all this stuff. But how do I create this thing? And that's the problem. Hiring actors and filming them talk. Like, when you solve, the way mathematics works is that everybody else gives you the tools, and then you happen to have the skills, like you're a climber, and you're ready to climb this mountain, but it's too difficult to climb. And then you've spent your whole life, by chance, chirotically, waiting for the possible to become actualized, to climb this mountain. And all of a sudden, a new tool comes out, and you have been waiting with all your skills, and then you climb it. But I have no idea which skills to obtain, because maybe I do. Is it just a video project? Like actors themselves, I'm not a theater person, but even that, it becomes this performative thing where you're already mixed up in between reality and non-reality. So it's like a really worried a bus is going to pull and I'll have an awkward encounter. You just have to not know if you're the audience or the performer. And but that's just documentary filmmaking at a certain point, or some sort of improv, which is exactly what goat worship is. God, what do you talk about? And I could relate so many stories of my past and of my future. But I think the best advice I can give you, my friends, is to see what level people are creating problems at. Like, in math, I feel like is the most based level of problem creation, because there's no confusion in it. And what I'm trying to do in metaphysics is find these questions of being and becoming, and changing the answer, the solution, into a problem, and just moving beyond the process. Accents die, so do manners of speech. Everyone will think the same, type the same thoughts, univocal human scream. I remember I wrote that because it was annoying to me that everyone is thinking like they have the same reference index. It's very hard to absorb a new worldview when everyone has the same worldview. It's the hive mind, isn't it? Well, I don't think I've said anything new.